We're going to bunk next. Bunk, I want you to debunk my
Michael.
argument.
How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, so why ought I value the principle of life as you were defining it?
Well, you clearly do, I guess, is what I would say. You ought.
I would assign value of life at the point of a conscious experience, a sentient experience, to be more specific.
So should we be able to kill people in a coma?
Should we be able to kill people in a comatose state? No, because they would have stated their given preferences before the comatose state, and then we ought preserve those from when they wake up from the comatose state. That seems like an unworkable system.
What if we don't know that they're going to wake up from their comatose state?
Well, it's kind of hard to say that we just don't know. Like, but obviously,
it's very easy. There are plenty of people where we don't know if they're going to recover from their comas. That happens often.
I'm sure there are people who we don't know if we're going to recover from their comas. I think that we ought to err on the side of life in that situation. But that's because there was a previously stated preference, right?
So their preference is all that matters. So if before they go into the coma, they say, let's say they had a bad day at work, and they come home and they say, gosh, I don't know if I want to be on this world anymore. And then they go into their coma. Then you think we should honor their preference and kill them?
Actually, we have things within the United States of America to allow people to die. It's called DNR, Do Not Resuscitate Order. And that it states that they don't want to be brought back to life. And I think we ought to respect that preference, yes.
So what you're saying is, rather than merely debating the issue of abortion being bad at all, or certainly being worse than slavery, you're advocating for the goodness of assisted suicide.
I think that these two things definitely do play into each other, right? So the idea that we ought preserve something that has yet to come into existence, right? The conscious experience and the conscious preferences of a baby.
But I'm not suggesting. I want to correct your premise a little bit.
Please let me finish.
I just want to correct your premise before you get too far down the rabbit hole.
Then we'll get right back to what I was saying.
Sure. So what you're saying is, if you want to preserve consciousness, but I'm not saying that I'm concerned primarily with preserving consciousness. I'm saying I'm interested with preserving life and not ending a life, whether the life is conscious, whether the life is an adult or who has expressed preferences, or a teenager who expresses preferences perhaps with less credibility, or a child who has not reached the age of reason and cannot actually consent to do anything at all, or a toddler, or a baby in the womb. So I'm suggesting something more fundamental than consciousness. Over the past 90 days, how often did you eat a little too much, drink a little too much, spend a little too much time in the office? How many times did you ignore your wife, children, or friends just to thumb through social media, watch Netflix, YouTube, or a game? How many hours did you waste doom scrolling through headlines? So many men today are distracted. They're dependent on the comforts of this world, making them incapable of even knowing that they're not free to say no to those things. We were made for more than this. If you desire freedom from those attachments, if you desire true freedom, not the freedom to pursue your appetites like an animal, but the freedom to be a better husband, freedom to be a better father, freedom to be a better man for others, I would invite you to check out Exodus 90. Go to exodus90.com/Michael. Exodus 90 is a 90-day program that gets us back to the fundamentals of the faith: prayer, self-denial, and fraternity. More than 50,000 men from around the world, Catholics, Protestants, even people who don't align with the Christian faith, have done this. Of these men, 99% report experiencing greater freedom. You can check it out for yourself at exodus90.com/Michael. That is exodus90.com/Michael.
What I'm trying to get at then is that we don't seem to value things that will never have consciousness ever again in the same way that we do value things that will have a conscious experience or have asserted conscious preferences that will have them again. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree that we tend to regard conscious beings more than we regard unconscious beings. I think, frankly, that's a little bit part of the problem.
Do you think that we should value things that do not have consciousness, that will never have consciousness again? Do you think we should value them the same that we do a human being?
I'd have to know what do you mean someone who is brain dead? Well, I think we should value them. We should value them, but I think we should value them, but it's perfectly fine to remove their extraordinary medical care because they're not alive by any real definition of life. But that, of course, does not describe
terminating their existence.
That doesn't describe babies.
That sounds really wrong. That sounds really morally wrong.
No, they're already dead, is what you're saying. If you're talking about brain death, you're talking about someone who's already dead. So I think we kind of circled back on this, but I guess before I let you go, I guess, is there any way that this relates to an unborn baby or to the question of slavery?
So the question that we're having right now is, do you value the potentiality of conscious experience? Would you value that?
I value the potential of all life, including conscious experience.
Because this is a much more interesting branch of conversation because I can't
I'm glad I can interest you.
Answer straight to the hypothetical, right? I think these conversations are very interesting. I love doing them, right? They're my favorite thing in the world, actually. I love discussing ideas. It seems like you do too, which is actually really great. But the point that I'm getting at is that do you think we can assign moral value to something that is potential, that has not existed yet?
Okay, we got to go. We got to move on. I'm sorry that we didn't touch on the topic at hand, but I enjoyed our interaction.
Yeah, I enjoyed the interaction too, dude. Have a nice day.